All right, come on, Jay. Too many people are struggling to grow. How can they start charging for their work? How? Oh, well, how did you do it? All right, let's see. Well, I did free work like crazy, and I built a portfolio, and that was it. All right. So many of you guys out there in the world holding a camera and want to do something bigger with it. How do I start charging? How much do I charge? That's a very common question in the world. When I was first starting, it was all I was researching, and there were a lot of guides to it, and at the same time, they were all pretty vague. So when I first started doing like photography and stuff like that, I didn't really charge anybody. I was just trying to do as much work to get my name out there as possible. Like, hey, can I take pictures at this event? Or hey, do you want some portraits taken? Or can I take pictures of your product so you can put it on your website? And if you like them, use them. If not, no worries. That's what I did in order to actually start my photography and media journey. And so if you're wanting to get started in photography or videography, I'm imagining you've probably already reached out to a bunch of people in order to do that. And if you haven't, start doing it, because there's not a lot of work when you don't have a portfolio and when you're not as good as you think you are. Because unfortunately, for many of you, you're not as good as you think you are. And now, on the flip side of this, there's a weird group of people who think that they are much worse than they are. So this whole part of getting started and getting up and getting out there really takes a tremendous amount of self-awareness. That is one of the hardest parts that I see a lot of people struggling with, is they think that they're too good or they think that they're not good enough. And I even struggle with this right now, and I especially struggle with it when I was like trying to grow my business and trying to get more clients. So ultimately, the biggest question is, how do you go from free to fee? Well, the answer is pretty simple, and it's whenever you want. Now, the answer is whenever you want, because the only thing that's keeping you from charging money is the fact that you're not charging money. And the only thing keeping you from actually going through and somebody paying that fee is the value you're providing or seemingly providing to that person for the dollar amount that you are pitching. So for a lot of you, you may have actually been doing a lot of photo and video work and have been doing it for like a full year, which is what I did. Well, I didn't do it for like a full year. I probably did it for like between 6 and 9 months before I started like charging $35, which is absolutely nothing for a shoot. And kind of going from there, increasing the rates as I felt comfortable, or like what I felt like I was worth, which was always a little bit less. And now I think I'm suffering from a little bit of like trying to overcharge, but like, whatever. It's always a balance. And frankly, it just depends on who you're selling to and how confident you are saying the number out loud. Because if you're not confident in saying $200 or $2,000 or $50 or $10,000, if you're not comfortable saying those numbers and come across as not confident when you're presenting the price, you may very well be sabotaging a lot of your sales efforts. So, I don't know. And if you're really trying to go from free to fee, I mean, one of the best ways to do it is to ask for referrals. So if you do a bunch of free work and then say, hey, look, I will give you a $1 bonus and give your friend a discount if you refer 2 friends to me. They'll refer 2 friends, you book 2 different clients, you give them a little bit of money as a kickback, and you give the client a discount. Now you can start charging, whether that's $35, whether that's $3,500. I don't know what service you're providing. I can't tell you exactly what to charge, but it's whatever you're comfortable with charging. Honestly, that's the entire thing. So asking for referrals, and then the other way to like get people to want to pay you is to over deliver. If you say we're going to take this many pictures and then you deliver more, or we're going to make this video for your business and then you give them a second video, or you give them a much longer video, or you give them a much better video than they were anticipating, people are going to want to pay you, so they're going to offer. Open up your tip jar and be like, how much do you feel like giving me? And then whatever they give you as a tip, if they give you $50, double it and then start charging 100, because typically people don't tip the dollar value, but they'll tip somewhere between 20 and 50% of what their perceived value of it is, or just something to help you cover gas or food. So whatever, it is. If they say, hey, can I pay you? And they give you $200 and it's a commercial video, and maybe you think you could sell it for like $800 next to the next person, be like, yeah, I charge $800 to make these types of videos, or $400, or charge $200, whatever they give you. So that's one way to gauge people's perceived value of the product that you're providing. Side note, don't let people's perceived value of your product shift how much you charge for it. I fell into that trap and it serves nobody. Charge whatever you want and then let the market adjust to your pricing. Don't let it go the other way. It doesn't really help you. So ultimately, you can charge whatever you feel like, right? You can literally go out and charge $10,000 for a portrait session if you wanted to. Now, the difference is who's going to pay for that? Well, very, very few common people that are around you. There's probably somebody out there that would pay for it if you provided enough of an experience with it, or you just solve a rich person problem. I'm sure there's somebody out there that would pay for it, but you'd have to dramatically change your marketing and your clientele, and it would be a lot of fun. It would also be extremely difficult. So not impossible, very difficult. So when it comes to starting out with photography, it really depends on what industry, what niche you're in, who you're serving, how much money they have, because if they don't have any money, they're not going to be able to pay a lot for the service. And if they can't pay a lot for the service, that doesn't mean that the service is inherently worth less. It just means that they might not be the client. But if you're willing to work or comfortable working for that rate, you know, I mean, sure. Now, there is a certain level of like, don't compromise. Like if you offer something for $500 or for $100 and they ask it, you know, if you ask for the $500 service and they ask you to do it for $3, or if they take your $100 service and try to get you to do it for like $50, there is a certain level where it's like, don't compromise, like no matter what, because it's at some point, anybody that asks for a discount is probably just a little bit on the cheapskate side. So you probably don't want to work with them regardless. But that being said, there is a certain level where like you should just probably say no, because no matter what the price is, they're never going to be able to say yes. So you do have to kind of gauge who the client is at that point. But like I said in the beginning, it is based on niche. So for like portrait photography and just overall like general photography for like people, I see a lot of people starting between $135 and $250 for 30 to 60 minute sessions where they deliver anywhere between 10 and 100 images. It really varies based on what you want to do. It really ultimately doesn't matter. You can just pick a price, pick a time. I'm going to deliver 15 images in 45 minutes and I'm going to charge $200 for it, and you can go and do that, or you can charge $1,000 for it. It doesn't frickin' matter. The only difference is other people or yourself. Like what, I mean, the other difference, it doesn't even matter what the other people are doing. As long as you are confident in what you're selling, you might just find people that are going to say yes anyway. I wouldn't worry so much about competition because yes, there's oversaturation, but there's oversaturation everywhere. So like, why are you going to focus on what other people are doing when you could just focus on what you're doing? And being a more expensive option, Alex Hormozi says this a lot. He's like, there is no value in being the cheapest option, but there is value in being the most expensive option because it gives you leverage. And so anyway, take with that what you will. My whole point is it doesn't really matter what anybody else is doing. It really doesn't matter what this market value is. It ultimately just matters, do you want to get paid and how much do you need to be paid for certain units of time or certain units of your service in order to make the money that you want to make and then some. That's it. Comment down below if you have any more specific questions around pricing and stuff like that. I would love to have a direct conversation because it's very hard to give a general pricing guide to just anybody out there. So comment down below, subscribe if you did like this video and want to see more like it, share it with a friend who has no idea what their pricing is going to be because it might help them out and it helps me out as well. And I will see you guys in the next video. The Pluff was super comfortable, by the way.